Welcome once again to Retire Your Way with 𝗵𝗽𝗍𝗀, powered by Thrive. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Our weekly program, we are dedicated to retirement planning strategies for you, solutions that we can help folks out with. Ben, how are you doing this week, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, man. We've been busy, so a little tired. Need a lot of caffeine, but you know, love helping people, you know, we got some important information to share with you.
Thrive itself is thriving, an organization that is growing, but still providing the same person-to-person, very specialized service for folks who are trying to figure out retirement planning. And we know that it can be complicated. Are you going to run out of money? When do we take Social Security? What are going to be the tax implications? And one of the things that I think is even really hard for people to visualize, because they're not going to be around for it, is their own legacy planning. How do we leave a legacy? What is that going to look like? Let's start with you. What does legacy planning look like for you, 𝗵𝗽𝗍𝗀?
Well, you know, legacy is an interesting thing. And so, you know, like my background, I was extremely fortunate and blessed to have an amazing family. So, like, my dad's dad passed away when he was 16. My grandma ended up raising him and his brother on her own. She was a nurse, wonderful lady. But what she did, her legacy was, she ended up saving money. When she passed away, she left my brothers and I an inheritance. This is actually what got me into the financial industry. We hired an advisor. We lost almost all of it because there was no expectations painted. It sent me on a journey to become educated about what we can do, and it sent me on a trajectory to create a company that never left somebody in the dark in regards to the expectations that they should have with their money, because nobody wants to go through that. But outside of that legacy, again, you're thinking outside of yourself when you're thinking about a legacy. So one of the values, like when I look at Thrive, it's not, Thrive is not just about taking a look at helping you optimize your wealth, although that's one thing. If we can take the burden and stress of money out of your world, great. But one of the things that we do, especially in in-person programs and educational events that we run throughout the year, is we take a set time to do a little bit of dream building. And do dream building on what is your elevated why. If money wasn't an issue, you know, your lifestyle goals and the things that you want to do in retirement, your fixed expenses were taken care of, how would you spend your time? How would you spend that extra money? Where would you put it? What would you do? Have you ever thought about that? That, to me, is allowing someone to thrive.
Right.
It's not just about, you know, helping you with your money. It's about allowing you to live in an elevated way. Think about the people who have impacted your life the most. Is it someone that gave you money, or is it someone that was able to give you time and pour into you? I know for me, I've been extremely blessed to have great people outside of my immediate family, my parents, etc. It allowed me to do that. So Thrive, I hope, leaves the legacy of being known for helping people live out their elevated why. You know, as we look at that and we talk about this as a team, and our team is fantastic. I'm going to brag on my team. We have some amazing professionals, been able to be hand-selected and just been very fortunate. But our goal long-term is not just us. Like, we want to give back. And so there's a Random Acts of Kindness Foundation that we're looking at in the next few years, being able to put together from a legacy perspective. And it just, it allows to bring people that have a need and people that have the ability to fill the need together. And so, you know, Thrive's Random Acts of Kindness is something that, you know, we are developing and working on. And it's such a neat thing, because you never expect that. And so you just try to do the right thing. You're not doing what's popular, right? You're doing what's correct. And when you do that, you know, our Thrive communities continue to grow. Like, we've had to expand into 2 much larger spaces to accommodate the influx of need, and there's just such a need out there. Let's empower you with the information you deserve to know, folks, so that you can optimize your wealth, but also have clear expectations. We don't want you to survive. Thrive in retirement.
I know, and folks, I do know Ben on a personal level as well, a tireless worker, but a very clear focus of what you want to do with Thrive, and that is helping families through their decumulation. How can they get through those retirement years, and what exactly are they going to be leaving behind, and what can they do? Now, let me dive a little bit deeper and go a little more specific. Legacy isn't just, I've got tens of millions of dollars on, I want my name on the side of a building. I mean, legacy might be as simple as, are you leaving money to anyone? So let's start as simple as the spouse. Does it always just go very, very simply when it comes to leaving our money?
Well, none of us are promised tomorrow, but we want to plan as much as we possibly can. Everybody leaves some kind of legacy. So when it comes to finances, I mean, I'll sit down with different people, and you may be listening right now and go, I don't want to leave anybody any money, right?
Some people say, I want to bounce my last check
and that's okay.
on the way out.
We can build a retirement plan that allows you to not run out of money, but also show you the maximization of what you can spend. And so we just did that with somebody, just as a story here. They wanted to be able to know exactly how much they could spend, and we were able to show them by optimizing their wealth how to spend about $5,000 more a month. Well, that gave them the flexibility to do a living legacy. And see, everyone's goal is different, and so maybe it's for you, you want to accumulate the largest amount of assets over time, and you can accumulate in retirement. How do we do it? We take care of your income needs through guarantees so that your money that's designed for growth can grow, and then we can build that legacy. Spouse is huge. Here's the thing that most people don't realize. They get their income typically cut in half because Social Security goes away for one of them when they're a spouse.
What do you mean goes away? Why?
Well, you'll get to keep one of the Social Securities, the bigger of the two, fortunately. And so there's planning to that. But you know, the income need typically doesn't go away, especially with inflation always continue to grow and our need growing every single year. Taxes are always uncertain. But the flip side of that is that we also go into a higher tax bracket, because the income that we have when you're a single filer, right, the bandwidths for the taxable money. So what does that do? Well, not only does their income get reduced because a portion of their income is cut away, they're now having more money taken out of the paychecks that they have left because of taxation. And so this can create a huge situation that we don't naturally think about. And so when we look at legacy, yes, we want to look at you and your spouse if you're married first. If not, we can just be selfish and focus on you, right? And that's okay, because I know not everybody's married. But the thing is that, you know, what is it that's important to you? Is the churches or charities or organizations, you know, that you support, that you want to be able to do that? Now, again, it comes down to figuring out what our why is. We got to know what our why is. We got to know what the dream is so that we can start putting things together.
And the why might be taking care of our spouse, or taking care of our spouse and hoping there's something left over for the kids, so on and so forth. So we'll continue to talk about defining legacy planning. We've defined it here at Thrive. At Thrive, it's making sure that we can take care of you so you can be and stay retirement ready. Call right now and get your own retirement readiness review, and we'll talk about legacy planning for you and your family. Are you planning on leaving money to anyone? Then you will need a legacy plan. Call the phone number you see right here, or use the QR code down at the bottom of the screen. Open up your phone, go to the camera right there, click on it, and you can schedule your own appointment. More Retire Your Way with Ben Heiser right after this.
Call 855-855-7655 for your own complimentary retirement readiness review and risk report. Why take unnecessary risk when you don't have to? At 65 years old, would you drive to the grocery store at 100 miles per hour if 40 miles per hour would get you there safely? When nearing retirement, are you still driving your investment accounts like you're in your 30s or 40s? Have you changed your investment election since you first chose them in your retirement accounts at work? Call Ben and his team at 855-855-7655 for your own complimentary retirement readiness review and risk report. Do you know exactly how much risk you are taking in your investment accounts? Now that you've accumulated a nest egg for retirement, you want to be certain the risk you're taking in those investments matches your goals and objectives. Call Ben and his team now at 855-855-7655 for your own complimentary retirement readiness review and risk report, or use the QR code below to begin scheduling your appointment. You may not have time to recover from taking too much risk.
Welcome back to Retire Your Way with Ben Heiser. I'm Spike Spangle. We're talking about legacy and your legacy that you want to leave behind in retirement. It might just be wanting to take care of your spouse, or leaving it to the kids, or making your community better. All of it, as you say, is defining your why, defining exactly what you want to do with it. But Before folks maybe even pick up the phone or use that QR code to schedule an appointment, while they're sitting at home right now, anything that they can think of to do on their own as they start their legacy plan or review?
Absolutely. So one really important thing is make sure that you are reviewing your beneficiaries at least on an annual basis, because we know life changes, right? People pass away, sometimes people break up, who you want to, get estranged with somebody, and we want to make sure that, you understand that whoever your beneficiary is the person that legally is going to receive those funds, whether or not that's who you want to receive those funds. So let's make sure, this is what we do this quite often, and if you give us a call today or you want to come in and see us, these are things that we review with our clients every single year. Now, outside of that, we actually have a legacy checklist for folks that want to be able to take proactive steps on things of their own that don't cost lots of money, like setting up an estate plan, in a trust that might cost them $5,000 or $6,000, because not everybody technically needs that. And so what we can do outside of that beneficiary designation is also give you tools and a tool, and we're happy to help you do that. And so we give that to each person. So as we build out a wealth plan with somebody, it does focus on, the income first, then it focuses on our growth and our risk second, and then taxation, and then it looks at healthcare, and then it looks at legacy, because once we've addressed all of those areas, which can become hazards to our wealth if they're not properly addressed, then that focuses on, okay, what over here needs to be addressed? Do we need additional legal steps and planning for that?
Right.
Or can we accomplish some of these things on our own?
Right. And as you said, not everyone necessarily needs a trust. Let's start, though, with a will. When you've got folks who come in, even in their 50s, how many people do you notice have or don't have a will?
I'll be honest, I would say probably about 20% of the people that we meet with have done any type of estate planning at all. So will or trust. I mean, even basic things like, power of attorney for health proxy or financial proxies. If, God forbid, you become incapacitated, you're not dead, you just can't function. And so who have you given permission to help you do those types of things? And so we just have to be real careful, because legacy is such an important topic to some people, and some people aren't interested in that. But
it's scary or it's spooky or it's depressing, and we don't want to talk about it. We totally understand. But and while we're dedicating our program to that today, this is something that could just be part of your conversation with someone like a financial 15, 20, 30 minutes, just covering some of these basics and getting them taken care of.
Well, really, it's about, we want to plan for, if you want to spend every penny, let's see how we can optimize and put your money in a position to help you do that. But at the end of the day, not all of us ever get to a point where we're spending all of our money. We typically have homes or other fixed assets that outside of that aren't part of our liquid budget that we can take income from or something in retirement for lifestyle. But we do have the flexibility to leave behind. And so how that's left behind, does it become a burden for somebody else to try and navigate and look at? Or have we organized it in a way that allows people to grieve and not stress and make reactionary decisions financially because we didn't prepare just some of the basic things to make it
right. I get what you're saying, and it can be wonderfully fortunate that all of these accounts are left to, let's say, your spouse or maybe even the kids. What kind of accounts are we talking? So we know that life insurance with a beneficiary designation will pass directly to the immediate spouse. What other accounts are we looking at here?
Well, I mean, we know that there's really two types of assets. There's qualified assets and non-qualified assets. Qualified are pre-tax retirement savings dollars, 401ks, IRAs, and then our tax-free stuff like Roth 401ks, Roth IRAs. Then we have non-qualified stuff that's after taxes. That's our after-tax money. So having tax diversification inside of our wealth also benefits the legacy portion of things. And then if you're one of those folks that are looking to leave ginormous legacies, generational wealth, because that is something that you're passionate about. You've just been so fortunate and blessed in your life that things have just worked out and you've thrived so well there. Now you optimize your wealth and organize it, and then you can set up something that helps generations. That's like, like the Trump the Trump family and the Chase family of generations of wealth that have created. And so there's really, really cool kind of things that you can do with that through specifically structured accounts that you would need more complex estate planning for if that's a passion for you.
Right. But isn't it just as important to do that kind of planning to be as tax efficient as possible, even if you don't have hundreds of millions of dollars?
Well, again, one of the biggest things possible out there when, the Revenue Act of, 1978 was passed, it put us in a situation where we now have 401ks and we're saving for our own money, but then most of the wealth out there is pre-taxed. And so that's the worst form of legacy money that we could leave. It's going to have the most tax impact to our spouses, to our kids, to the charities, the organizations, the things that you're passionate about. And so right now at 90-year tax lows might be a great idea to take advantage of that tax code today, especially if you don't need it. Again, legacy, big legacies are money that we don't need.
Man,
right?
we are talking about legacy planning, and somehow we end up back on taxes. I mean, it just seems that even though that you yourself, you're not a tax accountant, that tax planning is just so important, especially when it comes to the legacy planning. So we want to do a little bit of that. I do know that today we also have a very special offering. It is something that is complimentary. First, we do the retirement readiness review. You do that every single week. What we're also going to include this week is a tax map, a tax strategy. It's a report. You can run through it. What kinds of findings have you been getting from folks when you run this tax map?
Well, what we find is that, when we take a look, there's really 3 layers of depth in tax. So when you have your pre-tax savings, you're going to pay taxes on it when we take a distribution, whether it's forced and a required minimum distribution or you just need it. Then if we don't need it, we're reinvesting it typically. Where are we reinvesting it? We're paying taxes on it for a second time. And then when we pass away, the taxes at death. So there's 3 layers of taxation that can happen within just one type of pre-tax retirement account. And so when we look at those 3 layers and how much that actually costs from a tax impact versus maybe we don't need this money, so let's take a look at how can we create the least amount of tax today to create the most amount of legacy in the future.
We're going to continue to talk about legacy planning. We do have to take a very short break. Folks, call for your own retirement readiness review, and more importantly, that tax map. We want to make sure that you're being as tax efficient as possible all the way through retirement. We might need to take some steps right now. The tax map, it isn't about filing your taxes. That's what you do in April. That's what you do if you're independent every single quarter. Tax planning for the future sometimes takes steps that you need to do in advance. So let's run that tax report for you. Call 855-855-7655. More Retire Your Way with Ben Heiser. We're going to explain a little bit about what probate means when we get back right after this.
Call 855-855-7655 to receive your complimentary tax map with your retirement readiness review. Learn multiple strategies that can protect you from higher taxes now and in the future. Taxes are a threat to your financial stability in retirement. Protect yourself from the potential threat of rising taxes. As a retirement planning financial advisory firm, Ben and his team will help you navigate the financial waters to pursue your retirement goals. Call 855-855-7655. Ben and his team provide inclusive retirement services such as investment directives for your portfolio, income-producing strategies, and wealth preservation plans for your family and legacy. Call Ben and his team now at 855-855-7655 for your complimentary tax map with your retirement readiness review. Discover tax strategies to keep more of what you have saved in retirement, or use the QR code below to schedule today.
Welcome back to Retire Your Way with Ben Heiser. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Legacy planning. What does you want to leave as your legacy for your family, maybe for your community, for the spouse, for your kids? We also do want to talk about legacy planning. You could be single, or maybe your spouse has passed away. We want to make sure that your assets go where you want them to, so the government doesn't have to decide for you. Right before the break, though, I had mentioned a word, probate. Again, I don't like to use technical terms, but why is this something that we want folks to be aware of today?
Well, I mean, it can impact your legacy. So there's story after story after story that we can give, and there's a lot of different famous folks that have gone through stuff like this, where probate is a situation where the state gets to step in because there was somebody contesting that they deserve money from this person. So it has to be disproven. And so that's where like a will is still contestable, right? A beneficiary doesn't.
Wait, even though I've got a legal document signed by an attorney and it's filed at the courts, the will does not surpass probate.
You got it. So that is something in the legal code that if somebody comes in and says, hey, you know what, I was sitting at a bar with Uncle Joe over here and he promised me, half of his estate. Well, that has to be disproven, and so it goes into a probate scenario where it gets locked up, and then they have to go
I was going to say,
through,
probate and going through legal, so it doesn't sound like something that's a quick process.
Well, and if you've ever done anything legal, it's really slow.
Yeah.
So it's really, really slow. It takes a long time. It's stressful. It takes people out of their day. They got to add one more thing to the world. So if we can eliminate the stress of somebody having to go through probate, it just protects the sanctity of the work that you put in to build the wealth that you have. And then if you give us a call and we help you learn how to optimize that and make it even worth more over your lifetime, the interesting thing is that we don't want that to be compromised. So we want that work that we do together to make sure that it passes in the most efficient and effective ways. And depending on your estate size, right now 22 million, there's additional inheritance taxes that we can have. 22 million is a lot. Well, before that it was $1 million, and then before that it was 600,000. And so again, legislative risk is a big thing, and so the more we can get our money in a tax-efficient scenario, the money that we don't need, if we can make it tax-free. And so there's solutions to do that.
Let's talk about one for, let's say, for the kids. We've mentioned the word before on tax program, a Roth conversion. Real quick, that's taking our tax-deferred accounts, your 401ks, your 403bs, turning it into a Roth conversion, Roth conversion. But we have to pay the taxes that you owe on it right now, right? And that could be a large chunk. But what are the advantages when it comes to legacy planning?
Well, the interesting thing is that if you pay the taxes today, nobody else has to pay the taxes tomorrow. So the value of like a Roth or a 7702 life conversion is the ability to start turning money into something that can become a tax-free valuable benefit, because our taxable money is always impacted by our silent business partner, Uncle Sam, right, who gets a piece of every single thing. Now, what that piece looks like, it can change. And so right now we're at 90-year tax lows. And so the recommendation, or even really is to look at this, is some people need this, some people don't. But man, we need to be exploring that today.
Well, and when you're saying recommendation, what you're saying is you can lock in the tax rates that you know.
Yeah.
Meaning if you do the conversion right now, you know what your tax rates will be. If you wait to take your taxes down the, who knows what they could be. We do know they're set to sunset in 2025. So that means when you file in 2026, you could and most likely will have liar taxes, because they're probably not going to do anything in D.C. So we don't see the tax laws changing. We don't see taxes going down. Well,
and what we found is, like, because we're independent, we work with different asset classes, there's nothing we exclude. Let's take a look at 3 different solutions to something like this. Maybe you just want to focus on growth with your tax-free money. So if we convert it, we put it in the market, add strategy around it because you don't need it, and let it grow. Well, that's great. That's a growth strategy. What about an income strategy? Well, maybe we take a look at, doing a Roth conversion inside of that annuity, getting a bonus to offset the taxes we just paid, and now we have a tax-free income stream that increases for us forever. That impacts us. What about legacy? Well, legacy, there's lots of really neat things we can do. If you look at the wealthiest families in history, they use 7702 life insurance policies, which are specifically structured with a tax-free tax code inside of them, that we can dump large sums of money, at least right now until tax codes change again, but at least we can grandfather into that if we've taken advantage of it. That allows us to not only have a tax-free growth for our own wealth, but also a legacy benefit that's typically double the amount that we've invested into the plan, that helps offset all kinds of different taxation in the future. And so if legacy is a thing, that might be an opportunity if we're healthy enough to qualify for it.
Now, I know that the tax code is thousands of pages. Where did you find the 7702? I mean, these are the kinds of strategies that you and the team study all of the time?
I mean, the thing is, I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. So the experience that I have comes by looking at different things and continuing to make sure that we can impart to you, empower you, really, with the information that you deserve to know, so that you have clear expectations. But we want to help you optimize your wealth and allow you to make the decisions necessary to do so. And so how do we do that? Well, we got to look at the different opportunities that we have. A lot of this stuff gets very, very complex. So we want to try and simplify it down to the root of here's the positive impacts it has and the negative impacts it can potentially have, because there's no asset class that's perfect for all of somebody's money. And so we need to have a proper balance of what we're trying to accomplish. But that's knowing your goal, that's knowing your why, that's knowing your dream, and then allowing us to put the appropriate things in place to help you accomplish that.
I know that you work with folks' best interest in mind at all times. That's the way you're licensed. That's the way the practice at Thrive works.
Yeah.
So please be honest when I ask you this question. When it comes to legacy planning, should somebody call a lawyer first and ask them about trusts and where to place things, or should they speak with a financial advisor to see where they want to place the assets and then work on the legal aspect? Which comes first, do you think?
Well, it's kind of like saying, should I go talk to my CPA to give me the investment and advice about my portfolio? We need to see if the estate planning is a necessary thing.
Oh, okay.
And so what we can do is say, let's put these things in place, have a plan, and then if we need to, we can put that in place. Now, shameless plug, we are still looking for attorneys that can come into our organization, because the goal of Thrive and the Retire Your Way system is to have everything in-house so that you can have people in under the same roof, so we don't have to outsource any of that. And so, hey, would love to be, getting some referrals in regards to that as well. But here's the thing. We have partners in that regards that can help you if you need additional estate planning, or maybe it's just as simple as we put some organization in place to make sure that your money doesn't go through probate.
Right. So we are going to do a retirement readiness review for folks. But one thing that I enjoy is that, yes, as an investment management group, you seem to take a look at everything for folks.
Yeah.
Their legacy planning, their taxes, their health care, and their investment and income strategy. And those are all the things you'll cover in a review?
Exactly. So the passion that we have is we don't want to see you survive. We want you to thrive. Okay? We don't want you to go through an experience like I went through with grandma's money, right? We want you to have things in place that are proactive to make sure that the money that you've worked hard for passes the most effective from a growth perspective and a tax perspective to the people you want it to go to. Don't just survive, folks. Thrive in retirement.
Thank you so much, Ben. Folks, call for your own retirement readiness review. If you want to have someone like Ben who takes a look at retirement planning strategies every single day in their office, then give us a call right here, 855-855-7655. If you're serious about retirement and your legacy, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching Retire Your Way with Ben Heiser. We'll be back again next week.